But that was just the worst for me. I was like, y'all really is laughing at this clown about talking about April, talking about the beautiful, smart, educated black women. Okay, and I don't even be getting into all that, but that just, ugh. Just because she's more educated than you, Lamar, that's what it's giving. So anyway. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandy Yvonne. Y'all already know, here on my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows, y'all. It is Friday night, so we got to talk about one of our favorites over here at the Brandy Yvonne channel, which is the Ready to Love, y'all. They are in Fort Worth, Texas. This is season 9, episode 3, titled Finger Lickin Good. Before we get into it, please do not forget to hit that thumbs up button. Please, please, please share this video where you have to share your content. Please hit that subscribe button, y'all. Help support this growing channel. If you're a new subscriber, shout me out in the comments. A couple of y'all have been doing that, so shout out to y'all. Continue to help this channel grow, push it through the algorithms because YouTube be playing games, okay? Anyway, also hit the bell for the notifications. I'll be forgetting to tell y'all that, but y'all probably already got it, okay? So this episode was a mess, okay? And I couldn't wait to get down here to talk to y'all about it. So, these men, like I'm really trying with these Fort Worth, aka Dallas men, but it's very, very hard. Okay, it was a lot happening in this episode. Let's talk about it. Tell me what y'all think in the comments for sure. Let's get into it. So, as we know, we're going to do Tommy's brunch this episode, right? So everyone's going to meet each other, right? So, you know, the people from the second mixer are already at the brunch. And so they're like, okay, we thought we was going to be meeting new people. Like, where they at? So Alonzo's over there dropping shares because he said Patrice is making him nervous. Chaz is talking to Layleen, talking about, hell yeah, you know, you my type and all this stuff. And I guess they have spoke and they connected on legacy and building generational wealth and family and all that stuff. I feel like Chaz done said everybody his type at this point. I don't know which one is his type because he like Rosheena, but he don't want a woman that wear too much makeup. He like Vanessa and he like Layleen. So I don't know which one is really his type, but whatever. Play the game, Chaz. We ain't mad at it. So, we see everybody kind of mixing and mingling, and nephew Tommy comes in and he lets them know that one of the men decided to not show up to the process, but he has some, you know, the other singles for them to meet. So the ones from the first mixer do come in. And so everybody gets to mixing and mingling. He's like, y'all can sit down and do that later. Let me tell you what's up. Basically, the men are in power this week. One of the ladies are going home. I wish to God the men were going home because Lamar needed to go home. I don't care if it was a ladies' elimination, and I said this on Twitter, and I'm going to say it right here. I don't care if it was a ladies' elimination or not. Lamar should have went home last week. He is giving very much creep squad. I need production to intervene because he is doing way too much. It's gross. It's disgusting, and I'm not here for it, okay? So Anyway, so the men are going to join Nephew Tommy in the first gentleman's lounge later on in the week. All right, Nephew Tommy tells them to go on and mix mingle, but don't end up single. Bye, Nephew Tommy. So anyway, the people get to mixing and the mingling. So Lamar goes in to give April a side hug. He tries to get him a little peck on the cheek. She's like, oh, hold on. He's just doing a side hug. He's like, oh, I was trying to do a little side kiss. She's like, no, we're doing a side hug. First offense. And we ain't even talk about what he said last week. Let's start right here. First offense, trying to give people kisses on the cheek when they didn't give you the green light. We're not kissing on the cheek. What are you doing, Lamar? What are you doing? Anyway, everybody's mixing and mingling. We see Jonathan. He got to know Mika. He's like, okay, you're very beautiful. And he sits down with Mika and April. And so they're asking about his past relationship. I think he said right there he was married. Next week, looked like Mika acted surprised to find out he was married, but I'm pretty sure he said it, but whatever, girl. Anyway, so they were asking him about the mother of his child, and does she, you know, want him to find somebody else, or is she more like not wanting him to? And he was like, you know, I'm not really sure. Like, sometimes she gives the vibe that she doesn't really want me to, but really, I'm not really sure. And so they asked him, you know, how long ago was it that you were married? I think he said he got divorced in 2018, but I don't remember. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, so then Mika's like, okay, have you spun the block? April's like, you know they like to spin the block on that thing. Like when y'all first broke up, was you going over there still fooling around with her. He's like, when we first broke up, that did happen, but, not anymore. Not since we've been, I think he said they've been divorced. No, he said they've been divorced for 2 years. Anyway, he said he ain't did it since they got the divorce, whatever. All right. But maybe the divorce took a long time. I don't know. Anyway, Jonathan said Mika was a very beautiful lady, but once she started asking about all his past, she didn't like that. He excused himself to go to the bathroom, okay? And, we're noticing a pattern with Jonathan. Every time he gets put in a hot seat, he don't like it. Now he don't like that lady. All right, Jonathan. These men. Anyway, we also see William and Maya sit down and have a conversation. Maya's getting her lemon drop. She said she's a lemon drop type of girl. I'm not a big lemon drop girl, but I'll drink them. It's not like my go-to drink, but I definitely would drink me a lemon drop. So Maya asked, like, hey, is there anyone here that you like that you saw so far? Let me fix this, y'all. So he's like, yeah. William said, yeah, I'm sitting down to you, next to you. He was like, I saw that smile. I'm big on smiling and energy, and I saw you, and I wanted to talk to you. And so he started telling her, I don't know how he got on the subject. It kind of fell out of the nowhere, but it was a good conversation about how he's adopted and how his grandmother, his only biological grandmother he has living left, wants him to have another girl. He already has 2 boys, and his boys are like the first biological family he had, so he's really close to them. So he wants someone who will accept his kids. And so she appreciated him sharing that with her. And I think she shared with him what she wanted in a relationship or something. But they, they had a little connection. They had a little vibe. And so she liked him. William seems like a nice guy. I'm just not sure about that comedian job stuff, but we gonna see. So far, he's coming out like a nice guy, I guess. Until we get into that men deliberation, we're going to talk about that. So anywho, we also see Dominique and Laylan have a conversation. They're talking about kids. He told her he wants his 2 to 10. She's like, okay, you want to do a basketball team? She says because he's asking her, how many times have you been married or proposed to? She said she hasn't been married. She doesn't have kids, but she wants kids. And they did connect. She says she wants to be married first before she has kids. I'm the same way. I feel you, girl. Okay. We see everybody else kind of mixing and mingling. They didn't show us a lot of the brunch. Like, it literally was the brunch commercial, then a date. I was like, what happened to the rest of the brunch? Like, what? Usually we get more than that, but whatever. We did see Alonzo. Is his name Alfonso or Alonzo? Alonzo rubbing on Rosheena's feet at the brunch. I was like, what is happening here? These Fort Worth people got a thing with the feet. Did y'all see? I said on Twitter, I was like, do Fort Worth people just suck toes? Is that something that happens? And let me know in the comments, all my Fort Worth, Dallas people. Like, is that something y'all do down there? You just suck toes? They said it like they going down to the Starbucks. Like, it was nothing. Anywho, so now the best part of the brunch is the scene we got between April and Lamar. Okay, so April sits down with Lamar, and she's telling him. Now, they kind of pick up in the middle of the conversation. I already love do they little slicing and dicing with the editing. So they kind of pick up in the middle of the conversation, and she's telling him she didn't only get a master's, but she got her paid PhD. Go ahead, April, girl. So he's like, okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Okay. So then she was like, okay, but now, enough of that. I got to dig into your business. So she starts asking him these rapid fire questions. Okay. So she's like, okay, do you have kids? No. Have you ever been married? Yes, twice. She's like, okay, when did those marriages end? I think he said 2016. She said, did you date anyone since then? He's like, yeah, of course. And she's like, okay, how long was that? So then he's like, what does it matter? She said, it matters because I asked a question. And then he said, okay, well, who are you? She said, I'm April Michelle, whatever her last name was. And so he was like, okay, so what does it matter? Like, if I tell you that, what does it matter? So then he in a confessional talking about, I don't care about your degrees and all that. Good for you. Like, cheesy. Calling her cheesy. He going off on her. Talking about, oh, no, I ain't got to tell you nothing. So then right there in the moment, he's like, I don't got to tell you. Like, it don't matter. I ain't got to tell you. He was like, I'm done with this. I don't like you. We not vibing. So she's like, okay. Good to know. Like, you don't want to answer. She said it feels like he has something to hide because he doesn't want to answer. And, okay, when I first watched the episode, I was like, okay, April, you was doing a smidge much. But then when I rewatched it, okay, the thing I didn't like that April did, Lamar's disgusting. I'm not taking that away from him. The only thing I didn't like that April did, it was all the rapid fire questions. It felt like an interview, like we were checking off boxes to see if he qualified. I didn't particularly like that style. I don't like when people do that when it comes to dating. Like, let's have a natural conversation. Like, yeah, we gotta ask these questions. And I know they're in a fast-paced environment with Ready to Love, but I feel like there's a way to get the information without it being like, did you do this? Have you been married? Like all that rat-tat-tat-tat. Like, calm down. So I didn't like that. However, Lamar, you deserve all that smoke because you are a slimy creep. And we're on Ready to Love. This is a general question you ask about how long did a relationship last or when was the last relationship, whatever the question was. Like, that's a regular question inside Ready to Love world and outside of Ready to Love world. And why didn't you want to answer it? Like, what was the problem? And then he talking about she was being aggressive or whatever. She was not aggressive in her manner. She was very rapid fire with the questions, but she was not aggressive at all. And she never like raised her voice or anything. So I didn't like that scene. I don't like how he talked bad about her. I don't like what he did in the midst of deliberation. We gonna get there. I didn't like none of it. Lamar, and then he try to tell her she dismissed. She's like, oh no, I am not dismissed. Sorry, you can't dismiss nobody. Like, first of all, Lamar, nobody sees it for you. Like, first of all, who are you, Lamar? If I would have been April, I'd be like, no, who are you? Okay? Because nobody sees it for you at all. You are disgusting, and I wish you went home last week. Anyway, and yes, I'm going to wear Lamar out in this video. I will be wearing him out. So, moving on, we see some double dates. So, the first double date we see is Alonzo and Jonathan have a double date with, what is the girl's name? Rosheena and Alexis, right? So, they do bowling, and they do a wager. And so, Alexis says whoever's the losers had to do the chicken dance. So the women beat the men, so the men had to do a chicken dance. So they were good sports and they did it. And then Jonathan was kind of being silly about it, like telling Koshia, like, girl, like, sit down, we ain't doing this dance. Anyway, we do see Jonathan and Koshia go to talk. And so I don't remember I think we did see Alonzo and Alexis play pool. And they talked a little bit, but I don't think we saw much of a conversation between the two of them. Anyway, when it came to Koshia and Jonathan having their talk, let me get a sip of water, y'all. When it came to Jonathan and Koshia having their talk, right? Jonathan was asking her about something about love languages and asking, what love language is most important to you. Side note, nephew Tommy told them to focus on quality time is the theme of the episode. And we kind of find that out a little way later on Laron's date with Patrice. Anyway, because she had said one of her love languages is quality time. She got able to spend time with somebody. And so Jonathan said, okay, why is that so important to you? So then she's like, and so he's like, I'm trying to go deeper here. And so he said in his confessional, like, he don't really see a connection with her. She can't really answer the question. All right. So then Alonzo came and he went to have a conversation with Koshia. And so he asked her what's the most important about communication. She said, not only listening, but make sure you can understand what I'm saying. Like, I could talk and yell at you all day, but you got to understand what I'm saying. He said his thing is not so much the message as it is the intent in the message. And so he said, okay, like, somehow he gets on this weird example about, like, what if we had a pregnancy scare? She's like, well, first of all, ain't gonna be no pregnancy scares. She's like, that's not happening. And so she's like, we ain't got to worry about that. And then she said something about her aunt said, if you put together the recipe for a biscuit, you're gonna get a biscuit. And so he was like, do you always talk in codes like that? She's like, yeah, when you talk about my ovaries. And she said in the confessional, like, he needs to read the room. Now I was like, where the hell is he going with this conversation? I was very confused. He said he likes to throw out crazy questions and make people have to think on their feet and all that. I don't like a guy like Alonzo. I don't like, just have a regular conversation with me. We ain't got to do these riddles. We ain't got to do these pop quizzes. Like, have a regular ass conversation, Alonzo. So anyway, so then somehow they get on topic of her talking about, he was like, oh, are you somebody that always has to have their way or something? And she was like, yes, I'm spoiled. Like, I'm the youngest. And then he was like, oh, like, that's going to be a problem. So he don't like that her being it's her way or the highway kind of thing. They just didn't have a connection. Rosheena, is that her name? Alonzo would not be her type, okay? And what's his name? Jonathan would not be either, okay? Side note, speaking of Rosheena, before I forget, at the brunch, she was talking with Laron, and she was like, oh, I had to fight for you. The ladies is not liking how you like to party all the time. And she was like, but I said, he's a young man. Of course he's going to party all the time. Now, people were saying he was something I was watching, and people were saying he was like 35 or 36, but he's only 31. So him going out and stuff is not a big deal to me at 31 years old. But if it is to y'all, I understand. But I don't, does that mean he's looking for love? Now that I can't say. Anyway. So she said, if I was young like that and didn't have no kids, I'll be face down, ass up. I said, girl, would you? Anyway. All right. So then we do see, that was the end of that date. Anyway. I think the next date we saw was William and Lamar do a double date with Vanessa and, is it Patrice? So they go to this like place where you do painting, and basically instead of painting with like brushes, you mix the paint in like a cup, and then you're pouring circles onto the canvas, and each one was pouring a circle on top of each other, and then you move it around, and it makes a cool design. I never saw it, but it looks cool. It looks like something you could do down to the house as well, though. But it's cute. And I would like to do something like that. I'm not an arts and crafts girl, but that looked fun. Anyway, William said he wants to see if the ladies are creative because he likes the creative type. So Patrice gets there. Lamar's like, ooh, yeah, come over here, come by me. Ooh, he's doing all this. And then when they're pouring the paint, he's like, oh, yeah, this is sexual. Ooh. I was like, ooh, he makes her skin crawl. So he's talking to Patrice, asking her about her core values. And so she said, a man after God's heart, a guy that's trying to do something, with himself, learn something, be something. And he's like, okay, he agreed with that. And then he said, I'm going to jump, the God thing, I'm going to jump your bones. And she was like, how do we get to jumping bones? He like blurted it in there. And I was like, is something wrong with him? Is he a little special? Let me know in the comments, y'all. Anyway, so she was like, oh, Lamar, gonna be Lamar. That's what she said in the confessional. And so then he's talking about, yeah, the God thing, that really got me. She's just all this. Sounds like Lamar, ew. So he's talking about, the painting thing. He said his, she said something about spending quality time and how important it is to her. And he said, what if I'm going to want to touch her? I'm going to want to touch you. She's like, well, you don't get paint on me. And he was like, yeah, but what if you was like the canvas? We just tried to put the paint all over you. I was like, what are you saying? I would have been like, production, please get this man away from me. No. So we see somewhere in the other room or something, William is talking with Vanessa. Now, she did share with them when they were painting that she did something like this with her two sons while there was like a storm or something in Dallas. And so he was like, oh, I didn't know you had kids. He didn't, get to know that about her because they didn't get to talk much. And he also has his two boys. She said she has a 16-year-old and a 5-year-old. Vanessa, girl, you look good. You do not look like you should have no 16-year-old. I wonder if both of them kids by a white man or not. Now, that's what I'm curious about. Let me know in the comments, Vanessa. So they go talk somewhere, and he said the main thing with him, they're asking each other what do they want, core things they want in a man, core things they want in a woman. Vanessa says she wants a man that loves God. She wants someone who has integrity, someone who has ambition, someone who got a career and all that. He said he wants someone who accepts his kids and someone who's understanding because he has an unconventional job the same way Vanessa does. Now, they're having a grown people conversation. Here come Lamar interrupting, talking about he need to take Vanessa away. I was like, no, you cannot take her away. She's having a regular, decent conversation with William. Anyway, he takes her away. And then she was like, okay, you like to tell the truth. You like to be honest. Because, Lamar was saying he going to just say things how it is. And he just blunt. No, you have no tact and you're disgusting. Anyway, so she was like, okay, you like to, you're pretty honest. So tell me, like, what do you think I need to work on? Because I was on the bottom too. First of all, Vanessa, don't take no advice from Lamar. Lamar couldn't tell me how to walk up some stairs. No. So he was like, oh, you seem really, you're beautiful. You have good energy. However, you seem really, really reserved. And I don't think you really are that reserved. I think you're just acting reserved. So he was like, you gotta loosen up. Like, could you scream out loud? Can you say, yeah, real loud? And she's like, yeah. So then he said, he don't really like her like that. He don't vibe with her. She too, like uptight, basically. I don't know if he used that word, but that's what he meant. First of all, Vanessa's too good for you. And probably most of the men on this show. Okay. Is what it is. Most of these women are too good for these men on the show. And that's no shade to the men. I'm not saying all the men. I'm gonna just say some of the men. Anyway, that was pretty much the end of their date. Then I believe the next date we saw was the date between Laron and Patrice. Patrice came in her pink dress. They went to a restaurant. Patrice ordered turkey necks, and Laron ordered a big old plate of catfish. Now, all that food was looking good to me, but Laron must have been hungry because he was like, oh, this fat catfish is looking good. I'm about to tear it up. He was like, oh, this is looking good. He was salivating over that catfish. So he said, nephew Tommy said for us to focus on quality time and things like that this week. So what does quality time mean for you? So, he said that for him, you could do fun stuff like go-kart racing, do different things like that. I feel like he said something else, but it didn't matter. And then she said for her, spending quality time is like, as long as you're spending time with the person, she likes all the things he said. So then he started tearing up that catfish to the point where he wasn't even listening to her, looking at her. I mean, he was tearing that catfish up. He's like, this catfish is so good. She said in her confessional, like, you got to spend quality time with me, but, I got to be more important than the food. And so he was like, you going to take them turkey legs to go? And so then she's like, yeah. And so she didn't like how he was all focused on the food and stuff. He said he didn't really have a vibe or connection with her. He said he finna eat that catfish right now. I said, I know you are, Laron. You finna tear that catfish. You tearing that catfish up. Let me back up because I think I forgot to talk about the conversation between, did I forget to talk about the conversation between Alexis and Jonathan at the date with Alonzo at the bowling alley? I feel like I forgot to discuss that. So Alexis and Jonathan were talking, and he was they were talking about quality time. And she said, Sunday for her is she liked to go, have brunch in the park, spend time with her man. She liked to do the cheesy stuff. She wanted a romantic relationship and all that stuff. And so he said, he feels the same way. And so he said he really felt safe with her. He liked her. He's vibing with her. And then he complimented her on her tennis shoes. So she got on some nice Nike shoes. I think they might have been Jordans or something. I don't know. I'm not a tennis shoe girl, y'all. So if I get it wrong, don't come at me in the comments. I'm not a big tennis shoe girl. I'm more of a heel girl, okay? So I'm trying to get into tennis shoes, though, because, I'm getting older, so I got to be comfy. But I'm still wearing my heels as long as I can. Anyway, so she was like, oh, yeah, thank you. I got really pretty feet, too. And she's like, are you in the feet? Do you suck toes? And then he's like, yeah, I like feet. I'm in the feet. He's like, oh, we got to go there. She's like, well, you brought it up. So he said, yeah, he does suck toes. He like to do all that. He do stuff from the front to the back. Okay. I was like, oh, okay. So she said, oh, okay. So we can get in the shower and get into it. I said, now you ready to get in the shower, girl? So they were talking about that. All right. I felt like I forgot that part, y'all. So if I said it twice, I'm sorry. Anyway, I believe the last and final date we saw was between April and Jonathan, right? So at first I had high hopes for this, but then, it went wrong. So April said that, she had some more questions she needed to ask Jonathan. He didn't tie up all the loose ends for her about his past relationship with the baby mama or the wife or whoever she is. She said, but she do like him tall, dark, and handsome. So she excited for this day. He had already ordered her a margarita. So she was like, okay, you off to a good start. And so he asked her about her last relationship. Now, I do like to give Jonathan credit. I do like the questions he asked the ladies on the he does ask good questions, I feel like, but he don't always like the answers. So she said, she was married in her previous relationship. He asked what went wrong with that. She said her ex lacked self-control. I was like, oh, what does she mean by that? And she said she also had a lot of insecurities and she just really wanted a man. So that's where things went wrong. And so she asked about his previous relationship again. She's like, I wanted to circle back because you said you weren't sure, if your ex was okay with you dating other people now or moving on, or if she still wanted to be in a relationship with you. And so I just wanted you to kind of elaborate on that. And he was like, yeah, we have conversations about our child, and she'll slip things here and there that make it seem like she might want to still be with me, basically. And so, but, she asked, well, what have you learned from that? How have you dealt with that? And he said, basically, he's communicated and tried to, I think he did say he tried to set boundaries. And so she asked about, what happened previously with them, and he said he had poor communication. He wouldn't say what was really bothering him, and she's like, okay, you would kind of let things fester, and he's like, okay, yeah, if that's what you want to call it. And so he didn't like the fact that she brought that conversation back up after they already talked about it at the mixer. Now, again, when I first watched the episode, I was like, okay, I thought we already went into this, April. Like, girl, why are you asking him this? But then when I rewatched it and I thought about it, he did say he had poor communication with his ex, right? And he said he felt like he lost himself in their marriage. Remember, that was in the game. And he's saying right here, he would just let things fester. He wouldn't communicate what was bothering him. So he clearly has poor boundaries. So I'm not mad at April going back to circle around about that, because if he couldn't set boundaries in the marriage, imagine now he's out of the marriage. I can assure that he is messing up some new relationships for him because he didn't set boundaries. Maybe he's doing better with it now. We don't know. But he clearly had an issue setting boundaries, right? So it is what it is. He didn't like her going back to that circle and that, and he was ready to wrap the date up. Okay. Again, he don't like what happened. All right. I believe that was the last date we got. Then we get to the gentleman's lounge. Alonzo's nervous because he's hoping that somebody he wanted to keep does not get eliminated. So every time he asked the men who they like Maya, they like Laylen, they like Patrice, and Laron likes Kashia. And who are they not feeling? So he's like, Lamar, you could go first. So Lamar was like, hold on. Who's the lady with the shorts on and the printed top? That's the doctor. And he was like, April. He's like, yeah, her. Yeah, I don't like her. Yeah, she talking about all her degrees and stuff, and she could do this. And so the man was cracking up when he said that. I mean, they were like slapping knees. Laron was clapping like this. And then he was like, man, I could hire her right now for a job. He trying to be a comedian, first of all. And he was like, yeah, I could hire her right now for a job. And he's like, I don't know if she... what she want. She act like she want to debo somebody. She want to tell somebody what to do. I don't know if she want a puppy or a man and all this stuff. I was like, what? And so all the men were cackling like hens. Now, when I rewatched it, I was like, I'm going to see which man cracked up real hard. Now, William was laughing real hard. Laron was over there laughing real hard, clapping and pointing. I was very disappointed in Laron about that. I expected a little better from him. I guess I should not have. Dominic was the only one I saw, but they didn't show all the men because they didn't really show. They showed Will and Jonathan a little bit. They didn't show Chaz. I feel like they didn't show somebody else. Anyway, is there a Michael on the show? I could be wrong about that. Anyway, they didn't show Chaz for sure. Dominic, he didn't do all that like laughing and moving his chair. He might have, I think he smiled and maybe chuckled, but he didn't do all that hard laughing like the other men did. But that was just the worst for me. I was like, y'all really is laughing at this clown about talking about April, talking about the beautiful, smart, educated black women. Okay, and I don't even be getting into all that, but that just, just because she's more educated than you, Lamar, that's what it's giving. So anyway, he not liking her. A lot of the men are not feeling April. She was labeled as aggressive in that deliberation. I don't feel like she's aggressive though. Then they also said they didn't like Kashia. A lot of men weren't connecting with her. Laron said he does like Kashia though, and he doesn't want her to go home. There was another lady's name I feel like they mentioned, but I don't remember who it was. So I think one of the men, maybe Laron or somebody, said he wasn't feeling Patrice. But most of the men like Patrice. So anyway. Oh yeah, Lamar was over there talking about, oh yeah, I feel like Patrice makes me a better man. I was like, how? How? Anyway. Like, she brings out the best in me. I was like, what you saying stuff like you want to jump her bones? Okay. So, Laron said he don't want Kashia to go home. And they was like, we understand you want her to stay, but we not feeling her. So, now it's time to do the elimination date. So, everybody on Twitter, including me, is like, please don't send Lamar to do this date. Why did they send Lamar to eliminate April? I already knew April was going home because they showed Kashia in too many of the previews. So, we already knew who was going home. The fact that people were thinking Kashia could have went home, I was like, did y'all watch the previews? So anyway, and then they sent Alonzo to eliminate Kashia, and we already knew Alonzo wasn't feeling her. So I was like, okay, the two men that don't like these two women are doing the elimination. Like, you could tell it was definitely for TV, y'all. So anyway, they get down to the elimination. So let's separate the conversations. I don't like going back and forth doing a little ping pong conversation. So let's talk about April and Lamar first, because this actually wasn't as bad as the other one. So April, and Lamar's like, okay, how was your day? What's going on? She said she had a stressful day at work, but she's ready to relax and get into it. He's like, yeah, relax and all this stuff. So he's like, what'd you think of how's your experience with the two mixers? So she said, one was good. One, was very interesting. He's like, okay, what do you mean in what way? And she was like, it was very enlightening. All right, so she was like, she had, some things she discovered. And so he's like, the minute, we deliberated and we talked and we feel like, we don't basically, we don't know if you looking like you trying to tell somebody what to do. I think that's when he said, we don't know if you're looking for a man or a dog or, then you rattling off all your degrees and stuff and all this stuff. So he gives her the feedback. And so she was like, okay, I don't agree with what you're saying, but okay. So then he was like, well, ultimately, the man decided you are not ready to love. She's like, well, maybe they just not ready to love me. And she's like, okay, thank you. She got up and took her food gracefully. And she said, you know what? I'm a lot. And everybody can't hold me. And, they weren't for her. And honestly, April's man wasn't there. I feel like April got some work to do. She had a little bit of guards up. She was a little tough. But I also feel like April's man was not there. I think she needs a much more mature gentleman. And she was a lot older. I think she was the oldest lady there. And she was years older than most of the people there. So I just feel like she was on the wrong show. Her person wasn't there. She gonna find somebody. That girl got a lot going for herself. She is gonna find somebody, okay? Now this is no shade to my girl April. I was wondering what was happening on the side of her hair right here. But I don't know. We're not gonna get into it. We're not gonna talk about that. But I was wondering what was happening. So anyway, now across town, we are on another date with Alonzo and Kashia. So Kashia said, she's not sure why she's going on this date with Alonzo because they had already not hit it off and they had to have some fun conversations that she did not like, right? So they sit down to talk. And so Alonzo said, me and you, we had some conversations and, things got a little heated and you didn't like a question that I asked you. And how did you feel about that? And I was like, wait, what? So I was like, not at the bowling date, right? So she was like, yes, you are asking me all these rapid fire questions. Do you like black or white? You like spring or winter? And then you said, was it choking or slapping, right? Or choking or biting? I think it was choking or smacking, something like that. So, he was like, I apologize if I offended you or anyway. And she said when he asked that, she told him, I'm not going to be answering that question for you today. And so she said in her confessional, she didn't feel like it was disrespectful. She told him that. However, she was not going to be answering that question for him. And then he got mad, I guess, and said that he was offended and said that she was immature for her to think that he was being sexual by asking that conversation. So I was like, wait, what? What else does choking or smacking mean? Like, what else does that mean? Okay. So, because nobody wants to just be abused. Obviously, it means something sexual, right? Obviously, we're talking about in the bedroom. So then he said right there in the conversation that, I did not mean anything sexual by that. I'm sorry if you took it wrong. And so then she said, okay, so first of all, most of the people in the world know that when you put those words together, that has a sexual connotation to it. And if you're going to sit here and basically play in my face like you don't think that has that kind of, meaning to it, then I'm going to walk away. Now, we can either change the conversation right here or I'm going to be getting up and walking out. Okay, so now I'm not mad at how Kashia, is it Kashia? I'm sorry, girl, for messing up your name. I'm not mad at how she articulated herself in this moment. I am not mad at her and how she set them boundaries. Not mad at all. So Then he went on to talk about, okay, the guys, we deliberated and we said, you could come off a little judgmental, just let the walls down, let the guard down a little bit. You got a little bit of a wall up, and so she was like, okay, well, without you giving me specific examples, I'm not really sure like what you mean here. So then he was like, okay, well, the men deliberated and we decided that you are still ready to love. So then she's like, okay. And then the confessional, it didn't mean nothing to her. She's like, okay, your feedback meant nothing. Like, okay, and like, I'm ready to love. Like, you can tell she didn't take it seriously, and neither did I. So then he was like, cool, we gonna finish this dinner. Okay, good. And he's like, also, we had the conversation and you thought I meant something sexual, and I would just appreciate it if you would have came to me first and asked me if I meant that it was supposed to be sexual before you just assuming and putting it on me that it meant something sexual, because you're not telling the narrative of the whole conversation. And I was like, wait, what? So Alonzo is the biggest gaslighter in the world, because Alonzo, if you're going to sit up here and tell us that you didn't mean anything sexual by what you said, like we all sitting here stupid. Y'all better run away from him. Run away from him. Run away from him. Run away from Alonzo. No, we don't want it here. That is such a gaslighter. So then, Coachia got up and walked out. She didn't even say much. She just got up and walked out. She said, unmic me, please. I said, not somebody who is still ready to love storming out, because usually the people who are not ready to love do all the storming out. But Coachia was ready to love, but she still stormed out because she didn't like Alonzo sitting there gaslighting her. And I ain't mad at that. Anyway, y'all, this episode was crazy. A hot mess. It was entertaining, though. We ain't getting no love this season, y'all. I'm going to just tell y'all that right now. Anyway, forgive me if I sound funny, y'all. Y'all been going to the dentist and all that. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Meet me back here tomorrow night. We will be talking about Love and Marriage DC. Finally, y'all. Oh, finally. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.